This is exciting, man.
It is. Who would have guessed we made it this far?
Yeah, every year the team and I here at Blomgren Seed we come up with a phrase or a slogan, and I was thinking about that this morning. Ty actually sent out to the team a message, and it was really cool, and it said, "What a privilege to be tired from a life you once prayed for." And I as I was thinking about this, I was thinking I'm going to try not to get emotional today, but man, what an honor it is to do something for a long time and do something that's both hard work but super rewarding. And I guess I think about that a little bit when you and I are getting ready to do this. I certainly wouldn't think when we started this that 3 or 4 years later we'd be recording our 100th episode and people would still be listening, and it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, thinking about it, going back, it was, I was surprised, going back on the podcast list, trying to relive some of my favorite moments, guests, etc. Man, it was 2022 when we started this, and kind of thinking about, why we started this, our end goals of hoping for 100 listeners, right. your customer base, just to get information out there, and kind of thinking about where we've been, how we even started focusing on university professors. It just.
Did you see what I wore today?
I did. Yeah.
I got to make sure I get this in the camera.
Tribute to our favorite co-host and guest. Yeah.
That's right.
Our very first guest too.
Our very first guest.
Yeah.
So I thought, Andrew, as we start today, shout out to Dr. Know-It-All, Darren Mueller. We'll obviously share a couple stories today.
Maybe he'll probably say the success of the podcast is due to your first guest kind of laying the foundation. I can see him saying something like that.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with him. We were talking about him bringing Travis Faskey by when they were going to run that marathon. And the joke I made, I was talking to a guy from down south, is I think Travis might have brought Southern Rust up here and dropped it off in our driveway, and that was the gift we got last year. So, but I thought, today it'd be fun, run through a few different things, but just start with kind of, we probably have a lot of listeners today that don't really even understand where this thing came from, right? Because they've gotten on board somewhere. And shout out to all of you that are listening. It's insane to me how many people have decided to be a part of this journey. But Andrew mentioned hoping to get 100 listeners. So today we're going to have more props than we normally do. But Andrew came to work for DeKalb in 2020.
2020.
Right?
2020. Yeah, very, very beginning of 2020.
And just a really neat conversation was he approached me and said, Sean, what do you need to be successful in this business? And I remember thinking about it for a little while and then really recognizing that, we felt like we were pretty good at sales, but we weren't viewed as agronomists or kind of the first call if somebody had an agronomy question. And so our challenge to you, Andrew, is make us agronomists. And that started for us just a really important period in our business where you were teaching us things. And I remember over that year, just time and time again thinking, man, if we don't understand this and we need to, then there's probably a lot of other people that would benefit from that. So I remember asking you if you'd be willing to kind of record a podcast, and I don't know if it was insecurity or busyness or what, but you kind of pushed back for a while, and then I finally gave in. Persistence pays, and Andrew and I sat actually in the game room. If you guys have ever been here, we sat back in the game room and we used this. I'm sure they could see this on the camera, but this little Bluetooth microphone. And if you go back, we've never cleaned the audio up. Our first episode was terrible.
Yeah.
You could hardly hear it. And I'm not
I
sure.
was in my truck. Well, no, actually, before we interviewed Darren, I can't remember what the episode was on. It was just general agronomy stuff, if I remember right. And it was bad. Yeah. Second one was equally as bad too, though. But
yeah, and the goal was, hey, let's just kind of tell people what we're seeing or hearing in the fields type thing, and then quickly we realized we probably would be far better suited to bring some guests on, and Darren Mueller is obviously a great resource, and here at Iowa State, close proximity, and you had a relationship going back to
Man, long time.
education,
Yeah,
correct?
even before grad school. Him and Allison both were someone that, when they were on the episode, I joked that they were, I never thought of them as parent figures, but the way I asked them questions and annoyed them, I felt like a kid, and they were always just really good about, fostering my questions and not ever making me feel like an idiot. So no, even before grad school, I mean, they were people that I got to know and really respect just because of the way they handled, their knowledge first and foremost, but also just the way they handled questions and just loved teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been really cool to see, the idea of lifelong learning obviously has been the theme of what we're doing, but to get to be in proximity with those people, especially in the university systems, that it's literally the task that they have, right, is to never quit learning, and they've been great resources for us. So obviously today get to celebrate the fact that we've made it to 100 episodes, which is really cool. We're in between 2 episodes with Dr. Ignacio Ciampiti, which is really neat. Nitrogen's been a passion of mine, and obviously that's the thing he specializes in, but what a cool theme. So I thought in the beginning, we haven't really talked about this on the show, but wanted to give a special thank you to Corner Post. So Afton and her team, Emma, Katie, Bobby. For those of you that don't know, we've been working with Corner Post. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. They're a marketing company that specializes in agriculture. Their whole focus is around agriculture, but they've been great partners for us. Hopefully helping us figure out what we're doing and continue to do it better. But really appreciate them being on the team and helping us, continue to get a larger reach. So wanted to make sure we give them a shout out as we get started here today. So, we told the story of how we got started. And again, a huge thank you to our listeners. We're going to do kind of something cool for our 100th anniversary. So Andrew and I are going to ask each other a few questions, which should be fun. And then we're going to string together some of our favorite moments with some of our guests as kind of a cool way to honor the people that come on. I wanted to start, Andrew, by asking you if you would just kind of talk about how the show's built. So how do we go about securing guests? And because I think I don't know if our listeners understand how we do that. And then I think it's a cool opportunity to kind of honor those people that are giving us their time.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was thinking about some of my favorite moments, this was one of them. Thinking about how we secure guests, I mean, it's really a situation where I kind of think about questions I currently have based on current environmental conditions, current situations going on in the crop production world that I know I have questions and want answers to and about. And so it's kind of a situation where, I mean, if I have questions and I'm kind of wondering, wanting more information about it, I'm pretty confident that I know there's other, dealers, growers, agronomists that have questions about it. So, it's really been a situation where I take what's going on, whether it's a disease, a nitrogen conversation. I take what's going on in the real world and I'll pick and choose guests that have, that's their area of expertise. And so it's really just a highlight of that specific professor, right?
Yeah.
That's their area of expertise. And when we pick that interview and write the questions around it, it's around real world topics and the science and management behind it, with the end goal of helping our listeners become more educated, whether it's on their own farm or whether it's conversations they might have, or they just love the crop production conversation. So it's really just a way to get information out, showcase those professors and all the research and hard work that they do, and let the industry know, hey, we have a question. Our listeners have this probably have the same question and want the same answers. So it's just a cool way to highlight those professors and their knowledge.
I've got to give you a huge compliment. So the people that we reach out to, have we ever been told no? Maybe
we've never been told no. I think we had one professor that I'm still trying to get her on. I don't know if our dates just aren't lining up, but yeah, I've never had anybody say no. I mean, it's actually been pretty cool. the last year or two, we've had professors asked to be on, and we got recommendations from people. So no, it's always, that's a huge thing too. I think just a special, a shout out and thanks to all of our guests, because they've been so supportive. And before we even had the impact that we're having now on a U.S. or even global scale now, they were always just overly, just nice about, sharing time, right, and getting this information out. So, that's, we're all busy, and so that right there, again, before we had the impact that we're having now, people were just overly nice about, being on the show.
Yeah, I want to give you a little bit of a shout out to what our listeners and viewers, I guess, probably don't see is that. So Andrew secures the guests, usually picks the guest, and then you write our questions. And so if you watch us on YouTube, you'll see we go through a process where we have each question listed out. But what people probably don't know is those aren't just random questions, right? They're built primarily by you doing a ton of research around, both understanding the topic, but then understanding the research that the professor is doing or the guest is doing. And, that's not simple work, right? Like, you don't have all that stuff in your head. You have to go put the effort in to say, okay, is this the right guest? And then what's their research? And the only way we can have an informed conversation is if we're up to date on the hard work that they've been doing. And then a shout out to all of our guests. Most of the time, by the time we come up with the idea, hey, we need to ask some questions, right? These guests have been doing research, usually for years, have multiple years of really difficult research that they're doing. And then we get to kind of come in and just cherry pick what we want out of it. So it's really cool. I know for me
at the same time though, we're kind of the perfect combo, because I really don't know anything about this whole editing and all that stuff.
Right.
And, I spend a lot of time writing questions, thinking about guests. You spend just as much, if not more time, doing all the editing. So before we brought Corner Post in, the reason our sound quality and all that stuff was so good is because of the time, energy, and love that you put into this. And so it's kind of a good tag team, because I think we both kind of found where our passion is. You like the technology. Some of your previous work, you do all that sound stuff.
Yep.
And obviously I love agronomy, so it's kind of the perfect tag team.
I appreciate that. It's been really neat as we were reflecting on kind of the different opportunities that we've had. I know for me, I was going to kind of just talk a little bit today about, kind of my roots really came from, I just feel incredibly lucky, right? So to get to work in the industry we work in, with some of the brands we get to work with, but then to get to build a relationship with you, you're one of my best friends, but then to get to go sit in these rooms, to sit on campus with Dr. Fred B. Lowe and Dr. Connor Sybil, and I realized something I remembered. You guys can't see it, but right up here is Denim Doug, as we called him. So Denim Doug started the business that today led to the podcast. Dad passed away in 2014, but one of the things he used to talk a lot about was the idea that your life, if you're living it well, should mimic a spaghetti bowl. You shouldn't be able to just separate pieces of it out. Your work shouldn't be separate from your personal life. Your friends shouldn't be, separate from your business. And I used to struggle with this concept of like imposter syndrome. But as I've reflected on this, what an incredible opportunity, because you and I have both found our passion. We're good at what we do. And now we get to incorporate that with these other people that are incredibly passionate and doing amazing work. And it just feels incredible to sit here doing something that we started on a little device, hoping a few customers would listen to it. And now we're getting to have conversations with, some of the brightest minds on the planet, trying to solve some of the most difficult and important issues going on in agriculture. It's just a real honor. So
as I've reflected, the one thing that I really am proud of and love being able to continue is the fact that, we all have jobs, right? We all represent brands, but the love for science and the need and want for some of these answers that we have for some of these difficult questions, we've kept this show there's no bias to it, right? We're not talking about brands. We're just wanting to get information out to anybody and everybody. And so just being able to hear, people from, just different companies come together and that are listening to the show, I take a lot of pride in that because, even though we have our day jobs, I think we're all kind of striving for one goal, right?
Yeah.
So that's been something that's been pretty cool and take a lot of pride in.
My youngest son and I had a really cool conversation the other day. So I was listening to Joe Rogan, and I think he might have had Chamath on, and those two guys are just insanely influential, right? And Joe Rogan made the comment that he never looks at any of his social media. He doesn't read any comments or anything like that. And his point was, if you should just be doing what you're passionate about, right? And your audience will be whatever your audience is, depending on the thing that you pursue passionately. But we live in a culture right now where a lot of people are trying to do things for accolades, right?
Yeah.
Like how many likes can I get? How many followers can I attain or whatever? And I really appreciate that you and I have we've had this passion, just that we want to leave a mark in agriculture, right? We want to have the work that we're doing impact the way people think about producing food security, food safety, pushing the envelope on yield, all those things. And that's just really powerful to me. So let's ask each other some questions, Andrew.
Absolutely.
We've got a few different ones here.
Start us off.
We talked about how
and these are questions that we wanted to have no planned answer for. And so we had our marketing team come up with some questions that we could ask each other, not knowing what the question is. So we're going to put each other on the spot. So we get 5 or 6 questions, if I remember right, from the team.
Yep. And I made up a couple of my own. So just to add a little fun. So as you think about, Andrew, the 100 episodes, the 99 episodes we've put out, do you have like an aha moment that sticks out to you? I know you do the cash in my penny.
Yeah,
I had to think about that. Do you have a aha moment or two that really stick out to you?
That's a good question. Every episode, I'm learning something. That there has not been one episode where I haven't learned something from the professor that we've interviewed. I'm taking notes. We're both taking notes as the show progresses. Obviously I'm planning and prepping for cashing in your penny at the end of the episode. I don't think I had one aha moment from what was said doesn't stand out. But again, I know that every episode I'm learning something. But I would say an aha moment was, just being able to sit in the room with Fred Below and Connor, and it wasn't an aha moment like I made. It was an aha moment like we're impacting science, right? We're impacting the ability to get the information that these two know out to the real world, and so that was pretty cool. It was just an aha moment, like, man, what we're doing is impacting the crop production community. So that was pretty cool. But man, I'm learning something, whether it's me prepping for the episode, writing questions, or taking notes, prepping for cashing in your penny. I'm learning something every episode still.
One moment when you bring up Fred and Connor was, I remember when Fred started talking about Connor, remember? And we're sitting there and the hair on my arms was standing up because some of these people, you put them on a pedestal, right? When you meet them, and a lot of them deserve that. They deserve the place that they have. But then you sit with them and you realize, like, they're men and women doing really hard work that have a full life. But that particular moment, I remember when Fred was talking about this vast impact. We were talking about this vast impact he's had, and he was just talking about the people he's able to transfer knowledge to so that it continues. I remember that. I remember that moment was really powerful. So
well, let's go back and
forth.
forth.
Based on the look on your face, your question is probably going to be
of all your hidden hobbies and skills that you've revealed to us over the past few episodes. Which one has been your favorite?
Oh, I would say without a doubt my best friend. Him and I talk relatively frequently, and my favorite part of that whole thing has been when you do this, you and I've experienced this, right? Like, I mean, we get the data back so we can see how many people listen and where they listen, all this kind of stuff. The funny part is now, it's like every Tuesday about 9:00 when we release our second episode, I start getting texts of people like responding to whatever it is. But yeah, me and Fabrizio, man, we're tight. We're chilling. We're chilling. We're doing the thing. So
for those of you that don't know, we started this. I think our professor from Oklahoma State discussing corn stunt was our first episode, maybe, where we did this. But I think I was just trying to, more of our personality and fun relationships starting to come out, and it's been fun. We've had a lot of positive feedback. There's people that just look forward to that on top of the information. But we started having Sean introduce us to his skills and hobbies in episode 2 as he brings up the management portion. So that's been fun.
Absolutely.
Fabrizio, that's good to know.
Yeah, Fabrizio, and I think the other one that I giggle about relatively frequently was Chutes and Ladders, playing Chutes and Ladders in the hotel room. So it is funny, this. Yeah. Anyway, if you could go back and tell episode 1, Andrew, something, what would you go back and tell episode 1, Andrew?
Oh boy. I would tell episode 1, Andrew, to continue to focus on relevant topics and thinking about, our first episode maybe was just general, but I always I really count our first episode with Darren. Right, even though we had this first introductory episode kind of talking about the show, but I think the first episode really in my mind was that Darren Mueller episode talking about SDS, and it was at a moment in time where SDS, we had the conditions that were prime for infection. It was early when infection would occur most of the time, and it was just I just remember, hey, why would people want to listen to me? I mean, I know I learned a lot about SDS being in the Mueller lab. But I was like, man, why would people want to listen to me when we can go right to the source, right? There's nobody on planet Earth that knows more about SDS than Darren. So I just remember thinking about that, and that kind of laid the foundation for wanting to pick the brains of the people that know more about that specific topic than anybody and get information out. I think that's always been really important. Being able to, whoever you are listening out there, being able to take what you hear and just go state that as fact. We have a lot of learning we're doing in all these topics, but we know a lot. And so I would say tell episode 1, Andrew, just to continue to focus on the topics and the professors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good answer. It's cool. I'm thinking back to that time. It'd be interesting to go back and look at how many people were listening in the beginning. But huge shout out to anybody who stuck with us, because you think about it. I mean, this thing has evolved, right? I mean, so we interviewed Darren. And then I don't really remember when, but we kind of realized, hey, we need to break this thing apart, right? Like we need to understand science, and we need to understand management, and the consumption of that may be different portions of our audience. And so it's fun to think through just kind of the natural evolution. And again, it's fun to wear this T-shirt and think about the quality of relationship and those people being so generous to come on and give their time and expertise. So
Agreed. All right, your second question. Who is your most memorable guest we've had on the podcast?
Oh, that's a great question. My most memorable guest we've had on the podcast, that's going to be a really tricky question for me to answer, because I would say, similar to your response, I feel like I've learned so much, and it feels. There's a lot. My joke is always, right, I'm the dumbest guy in the room or whatever, and it's incredibly. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to sit with literally the top people, the subject matter expert, and learn from them. And so, similar to your answer, I think. I mean, in my mind, there's just this real playing of all these things that I've learned, and my confidence to go have high quality conversations with growers has grown so exponentially, because I feel, to your point, we're up to speed with what's happening in the industry on the latest and greatest. But the couple that really jump out to me, I think would be the kindness and the generosity of Dr. Bilo and Dr. Sybil and the way that they've invited us in and given us proximity to what they're doing, but also the opportunity to help them with some stuff. Specifically thinking of their grad students and their field day, and then honestly, probably another one that kind of comes from the our 2 cents side of the show would probably be Kevin Kalb. So growing up in this industry and growing up following him in the NCJA contest and whatever, he was somebody that to me was just larger than life, right? You think of your sports heroes and everything else. And he's somebody now that I consider a friend. I can call him and ask him questions and those 2 or 3 guys, I guess, to me, I talked about this on the episode with Darcy, that the first time I met Darcy, I was like nervous, so all of these people, just their generosity and their desire to give their information back is really impactful. But Kevin and I have had a couple of neat opportunities to spend time together in the podcast, but then in other areas. And that's just, it's been super cool to be a part of.
Yeah. That's cool. I know exactly what you mean. It's, you got certain people, you're like, man, I can't believe I'm getting to talk with this person, right? And then before you know it, you do like 10 people like that, and it does build confidence, right? Our goal is to get information out to growers and ourselves improve so that we can have higher level conversations with our grower friends, and it's definitely impacted what we do.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Talk, if you would, a little bit about your father's influence, and talk, if you would, about your dad's influence and your passion for agronomy.
Yeah. Boy. So my dad was the agronomy manager of co-op, and then GM CEO of that co-op as he retired. I remember walking fields. We actually did a field view thing where they showed a video or a picture of me I was 4 years old. I think it was in a soybean field. I can't remember, but I've just been walking fields and listening to my dad talk with growers since as long as I can remember. And I mean, he still does it, right? You like, if I go to any farming event with my dad, you just plan for like another hour or two, just because all the people that know him and all the people he knows and has helped in his career. So, being able to have conversations with growers and think past. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to do what's best for the grower, right? We all have a business, but you can look past that, right? When you have an end goal, and that end goal is to help the grower be more profitable or increase yields, whatever their goal is. I think that people sense that stuff, right? People sense the passion. So, just my dad instilling lifelong learning, instilling understanding the science and how to incorporate that into growers' practices. That's something that I probably think about every other day, right? And just being able to talk with him still, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm more surprised I didn't get emotional talking about it. How does the podcast today compare to what you imagined it would be back when we first started?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, Andrew. So when I think about where we first started, it's funny. My boys are at the age where they like to search for me on the internet, which is funny. So, way back in the day, when I was first running the seed dealership, I started a weekly ag update called Monday Morning Alerts. I did some of them by myself, and some of them a great agronomist named Todd Clausen would help me with, and I think he's carried that on in some tradition. And what I learned early on was we have to know what we're talking about if we're going to bring any value to our customers, right? And what I learned through doing the Monday Morning Alert thing was, well, if I'm not out scouting, if I'm not out learning, I'm not going to have anything to offer, right? So there was an accountability. And so I think when we started this, I had the root or the seed of that idea in my head. But man, I couldn't in my wildest dreams have imagined that we would have access to the people that we have access to, and been given the opportunities that we've been given. I grabbed a couple things. I grabbed a couple things when we were preparing for this. So this was one of the giveaways from one of the events that we did alongside of the launch of Short Corn and kind of how that came to be. There's been, gosh, I don't know, in the last 3 years, probably 25 times I've looked at you like, is this really what we're doing right now? You know what I mean? Like, and I remember getting to interview Dr. Bob Ryder, and I'm like, holy cow, like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, are you serious right now? And so for me, I mean, I think the cool part, going back to Denim Doug's conversation around, if you're doing it right, it should be a spaghetti bowl. And it's neat to me how this has just evolved into, you're passionate, I'm passionate, we're willing to work hard at it. But then, man, we're just incredibly lucky people, right? That the people in our proximity and in our circles have given so freely to us. And then, just so many times looking at each other. I remember a couple of the comments Elzandi made that, to me, talking about global food security and how what we do in North America impacts the rest of the world, and just, you know, those moments where you're like, goodness gracious, we are incredibly lucky to be here, you know, and we've talked about this on air and off air, but neither one of us have set out with like a goal of we want a certain size audience or we want, you know, a certain amount of notoriety or whatever. It's literally just been, we love agriculture. This is what we love doing. Yeah. And so then the opportunity to get to inform people in some of the ways that we have is just wild to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, talk about a moment that made my top 8 cool things in the podcast. That moment with Elzandi, I think that was probably the only moment. I mean, I've had a lot of aha moments and learned a lot from all the professors, but that was probably the only moment where I got goosebumps, where she started talking about, and I'd recommend anybody go back and listen to that episode. It was with one of our R2 Cents episodes, but we interview Elzandi, and she talks about why she does what she does, and referencing, you know, just the food security and wanting to increase production so that people have food, and talking about where their only meal that day will be corn. It was pretty impactful.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing specifically about that, you know, that episode, or that recording for me, was we talk about food security and we talk about our contribution to it, but it's kind of an abstract idea for us, right? I mean, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about where I'm getting my lunch from today. And there are people all over the world that don't have that sense of confidence, and so that's pretty powerful. That was a neat moment. I was just kind of looking at the stuff I brought. One other thing I was thinking about is I have this hat here, and it's actually signed by Connor and Connor Sybil and Fred Belo, and it's not really the memorabilia piece of it as much as your curiosity has inspired me. And I remember, and so can I share the moment we had when you had?
Oh yeah.
So
signed my nerd book.
Yeah. So Andrew refers to it as his nerd book, but it's literally something that inspires me, is that Andrew has this notebook with just page after page after page of questions and learnings. And there'll be times I'll call you and I'll ask you a question, and you'll go to that book and start flipping through pages to find it. And got to ask Fred to autograph that book. And I just thought, man, what an incredible moment, because you've done so much hard work. You've learned so much. You've been passionate about that. And this show for us has been a conduit to learn so much more and expand our opportunity to learn. Yeah. But then to get to have, you know, those moments with people like that is really special to me. That
was a cool moment.
That was a very cool moment. You and I have used the term rooted. What does rooted mean to you?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I got stay rooted. It's obviously got a little meaning behind it. So if anybody's ever heard any of my high yield talks that I've been fortunate enough to give across the U.S., I focus a lot on root and root health and the signals that go on, plant hormones that go on and get sent up from the roots to the shoots that dictate and impact, vegetative growth, kernel number, kernel weight, all late season stay green. But the dual meaning, don't ever forget where you came from, right? And I think I immediately thought of, when we started this, either of us could care less about, the number of listeners we have or getting recognition. It was really just about learning ourselves, getting better at what we do, more importantly, getting information out to growers to help them. And, coming from the university, doing extension talks, even got to teach an agronomy class. Getting information out can be a hard part for some universities. So, just don't remember where you came from. Remember why you started doing what you did. I think that stay rooted meaning has a lot in terms of the show, but also connects really well with how I have conversations around with growers around the importance of root health. So. I end all my talks with stay rooted. So, again, if you've heard my talks, focus on that root system, but also don't forget where you came from and what your goals were when you started, and why you're doing what you're doing.
Appreciate that.
That's
good. Great answer.
That's a good question. All right, moving on. So we got what has been your biggest pinch me moment since starting the podcast?
Biggest pinch me moment since starting the podcast. Yeah, that's an awesome question, Andrew. And I would say my mind goes two different places. So there would certainly be, I would have a very, very long list of those from an agronomic learning standpoint. And a lot of those I'll highlight when they happen, like where I'm like, oh, I need to reframe the way I think entirely about something, right? And those have happened. Those have happened frequently. I would say the other one that comes to my mind would probably be the opportunity to talk to just the truly best people in the industry. And so for me, it's almost every time we record.
Yeah.
The opportunity to get to sit with people who eventually will be in the Agriculture Hall of Fame, to me is really powerful. And it's a very humbling feeling when you sit across from somebody and you feel like they've done a lot more work than I have to deserve to be in this position. And so I mentioned earlier Dr. Bob Ryder, but getting to spend time with him, right near the end of his career and hear him reflect on the things that he's done to impact agriculture was wildly powerful to me. The conversation with El Zondi, I think, made me realize the scope of what's going on. But I'd probably say more than that. It's the weird moments where you go, wow, I was actually able to impact the way somebody was thinking about something because of this culmination of information that you and I are gathering. And so to be able to be a conduit to the subject matter experts is really powerful to me, because I would never, if I could live forever, I wouldn't have enough time to gain all of the insight and knowledge that all of these experts have. And so really the moments that I pause and really reflect on a penny for your thoughts and think, gosh, how lucky are we? Like, how lucky am I think is when I do a good job at my job because of this. Yeah. And those you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty incredible. So
yeah. No, I've felt that numerous times. It's, I'll get a question, or I'll just be talking to a grower, another agronomist, a dealer, and that question will be similar. I'll have kind of that moment where I remember talking about that with the person that knows more about that subject than anybody on, recording an episode. And it's evident that it's impacted the way that we do our jobs. And I'm hoping that with all our listeners, it's impacted the way they think about crop production or the conversations they have with dealers and growers out there. So it's been pretty cool to experience that as well.
Absolutely. I think I have one more. and I really like this one. If you had to pick a new co-host, who would it be?
Oh boy, that's a good one. If I had to pick a new co-host, boy, I'd probably have to go someone that I really enjoy talking to, and I know I'd have to go with Chad Lee or Sean Conley.
There you go.
And Sean's just such a cool guy, so knowledgeable, and people just enjoy listening to him. He'd be a great co-host, and then Chad Lee, obviously, he's awesome to listen to. We're talking about planning a trip to Kentucky to record. Him and some other professors over there that are doing some cool work. But he obviously his voice and just his knowledge and he'd be a phenomenal co-host.
I love that answer. That's awesome.
That's fun.
As long as you keep it in the Sean family, right? I mean, shout out to Sean Conley. That's awesome.
All right. So I think my last question for you is, if someone just discovered our podcast today, what's the one thing you'd want them to take away from it?
I think my answer to, if someone just discovered our podcast today, what would I want them to take away from it would be, there are so many benefits from just staying in the process. And so, I'm thinking about whether you're a young farmer, a young agronomist, someone that wants to work in, the entertainment or information industry. Just stay persistent and enjoy the process. Be part of the process. Because what we've learned when we talk about the generosity of our guests to come on the show and give so freely, people that are passionate about what they do and are excellent at it, they want to share that with other people, right? You think about all the people that we've been given access to, they do not hold tightly to their information. They're not afraid to give it away. You think about these people that are so set apart in the industry because they're so exceptional at what they do, but they don't cling to that like it belongs to them. They want to offer it up. And when I think about all the people we talk to, they don't get, more arrogant or more confident as they acquire information. They actually get more humble and desire to give of that. And so I think for me, it would just be, regardless of what line of work you're in, just be engaged, stay engaged, find what you're passionate about, and stay engaged and work hard at that. And really cool things come out of that. I
really like that. I mean, I know when I'm teaching or maybe impacting someone younger to help them in their career, that whole process piece hit home, because you don't become an expert or knowledgeable by doing one thing one day, right? It's years of little things adding up over time that you slowly become an expert yourself. Yeah. So the more you enjoy what you do, that process, that's really good.
I remember being in, I think I maybe told this story when we were talking to Ty Barton, but I remember being in the World Food Prize building, and there's a room in there with these busts of all these people that have impacted food security, and then underneath of them is their plaque that explains, why they're memorialized. And I went around that room and I read all these plaques and I looked at all these people, and the thing that I thought when I was doing that is very few of them, probably almost none of them, realized during the process how big of an impact they were going to have, right? Like normally it's you do all this hard work for a really, really long time, and then the culmination is this massive impact. You think about guys like Norman Borlaug and those types of people. And so for me, it just reminded me, you have to find something that you're passionate about to drive you, but then you just have to stay persistent in it for a really, really long time. None of us really know the grand impact we have. We can measure KPIs and, did I hit my goal or whatever. But the cumulative effect happens just after a life of hard work and dedication. And so. Well said.
Well, no, with that, I just wanted to wrap up with me kind of reliving some of my top favorite moments. And, I thought about this last night and made a list and sent to the marketing team. I know my favorite moment, and I think it's just because it kind of highlights our friendship and the way we go about doing some of this stuff. But the second part with the Iowa State Digital Ag team, where you're doing your typical reveal during the management episode at the beginning, and you fill us in on your favorite sports during the Olympics. And that's funny, but it's more the response and kind of the back and forth that I really enjoy listening to and seeing. You can see how close of friends we are by how we have some of those talks and conversations. So that's probably my favorite moment of all time. So if anybody wants a good laugh, go to episode 2, the management with Iowa State digital team. And then 2, you brought up Fabrizio. That's one of my favorite too, because he's actually been brought up in a few of our other episodes. Right. So it's been fun, just little things like that. That's a pretty good. That's our relationship to the T. Just kind of having stupid little jokes like that, but still talking about important stuff. And then the one that really stands out to me. We mentioned Fred Beal a lot, but Mark Westgate, we've mentioned Darren and Allison, the impact they've had on my career, and just how much fun it's been to interview them. But Mark Westgate was one that I don't get intimidated often, if ever. And he was someone that has just had such an impact on my career and is one of the best. Him and Fred Beal are the 2 best corn physiologists that have lived. Right, you look at all the stuff that people reference them in the work they've done. He just had such a huge impact on me and my love for crop physiology, which spurred all my other loves and passions, pathology and all that. So being able to interview him and still maintain contact with him has been really cool. That's something that re-listening and thinking about that episode, it's funny because you even bring up it takes a lot for Andrew to be intimidated.
Right.
So that was kind of cool. And then I wanted to bring up the interviews we've had on the Our 2 Cents episodes, but we're interviewing growers at Commodity Classic, and so we might talk brands a little, but just some of the information those growers like Temple Rhodes and Chad Henderson brought to us. I mean, just listen to guys like that, and Kevin Kelb, Heath Cutrell. Listening to guys like that just seem larger than life, but know so much because of all the things they've done and tried, and they're not sitting back and, hey, I've done the same thing the exact same way for the last 20 years. I'm still putting all my nitrogen out in the fall, and just their willingness to learn, continue to get better. They're pushing for high yields, but they're also pushing for profitability, right? And so some of the things that they've brought up and just made me think differently. I mean, I'm already someone that thinks outside the box, but even they were able to get me to think differently and had some aha moments. I mean, Josiah Garber, bringing up, planting corn based on the orientation of the sun. Right. Just little things like that. Those Our 2 Cents episodes at Commodity talking to growers, I've just really enjoyed because it shines a light on the best of the best that aren't just focused on yield. They're focused on things to do on their entire farming operation that impact yield and ROI. And so, I think that's a really good indicator of areas of improvement that we can all do to get better at what we're doing.
Yeah. Those interviews with growers specifically, I think have really challenged me because none of those guys, to your point, they seem larger than life. And my assumption oftentimes is, these guys are going to be, cocky. Their names are in the ceiling and whatever. And most of them are like, laughing about stuff they tried that was like a complete disaster and they're just experts trying to figure it out, and they're doing the same thing, right? Like they're passionate about it. They're going to learn their whole lives, and they're willing to take risks, and it's pretty fun to be around those guys.
Yep. So no, I just want to end by thanking all of our guests. Whether you're a grower, especially our professor guests. I mean, you all are the experts in that specific topic, and we bring you on for a reason. So being able to bring our listeners all that information, man, it's just so awesome, and the willingness and joy that it brings our listeners and even the people getting interviewed now, it's just awesome. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had just a couple moments I was going to highlight. So one isn't recorded anywhere, but a lot of people tease me about our intro, and that like I can't remember who it was, but somebody's like, yeah, your voice is so methodical on that. I'm going to put it on to fall asleep to or whatever. But you get like comically hyper aware of how you sound when you do this stuff, especially if you're the one who does the editing. And so I sat in my kitchen and probably re-recorded that like 100 times. And so
I remember.
So then my boys, like 2 days later, my sons were making fun of me. They're like in the backseat of the car reciting it like verbatim, and because they're trying to fall asleep and they had heard it so many times that they could recite it. So that was a fun moment for me. And then one of my other favorite ones. I feel like you get to pick on me a lot, but it's harder for me to pick on you. So I remember it was
Kirsten Wise.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, yep. Kirsten Wise reprimanding Andrew, basically telling him that the black light theory is completely bogus.
I remember that.
That was a fun day for me. But honestly, we're gonna put some awesome clips up and stuff. But honestly, for me, I think so much of it is what ends up getting put out is the finished product, right? But for me, so much of it is the conversations you and I get to have driving down the road, calling these subject matter experts when we need to understand something at a higher level or whatever. I'm just super appreciative of this whole process. So we're going to transition. We're going to watch some clips, go back through some of the best moments. But I appreciate your gratitude to our guests. I would just echo that the people that are willing to work so hard to have something to say is awesome, but then to be willing to give that freely to us and to our listeners is really impactful. And then to all of you that listen, man, I just cannot thank you enough for choosing to stick with us as we've had to figure out how to do this well, and all the feedback we get and stuff is really impactful. So let's watch some clips.
Yeah, let's do her.
I'm Sean Blomgren. My co-host is an idiot. My favorite sports in the Olympics are synchronized swimming and curling. He's a far better, I want to reassure everyone, he's a far better agronomist than he is a comedian, but I actually am relatively fascinated by curling for what it's worth. It's a pretty interesting sport.
Isn't that crop management, though? I mean, you want every plant to be like synchronized swimming,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
Up the ground, all together. And the reality is, like in curling, you can't really touch the rock. You just got to like scrub the edges.
I've never met a normal agronomist. That's not actually true. I've met normal agronomists, but all of the really good ones have some just weird quirk. So it's just, it's just part of it. It's the way it is, you live with it. But Andrew, when you're done celebrating your comedic genius, why don't you open up our management episode? Sean Blomgren, and I... I don't even know how to pronounce that. I have an imaginary friend named Fabrizio.
Fabrizio.
Yeah.
Your imaginary friend named Fabrizio.
I think I like him more than I like you.
Interesting. I thought that was something you'd give up as a child.
Yeah. That's who I have my conversations with when Darcy's stressing me out because I think I have to scout corn that's this tall to find tar spot. So,
well,
is he one of your cousins?
Fabrizio?
Is he Italian?
Fabrizi's more Italian.
Yeah. Darcy brought him back from Rome when she came.
That wasn't even planned.
Yeah, I'm probably more excited for this guest than ever with all of the professionals we've had on here. This is someone that's definitely had a huge impact on my career and kind of spurred my curiosity, love, and passion for crop physiology. Not only did he do that, but he's probably the premier corn and soybean physiologist in the world, I'll say, when it comes to just research and data. I was pretty shocked as I prepped for this. I looked up Dr. Mark Westgate's name on Google Scholar.
Yeah.
And there was 111,000 sources cited with his name on it. So I think I feel like anybody that's done any kind of corn or soybean physiology work is familiar with the name. So I'm happy to have Dr. Mark Westgate on here from Iowa State University. But I'm more excited just to share the, we'll say share the stage with someone that's had a huge impact on my career. I often reference the 7 wonders of corn, and I was talking to Fred about this before. You never know the impact you're going to have on someone. Yep. And I can still remember when 15 years ago reading that article and just immersing myself in all things crop physiology and still do it to this day. And it drove me to, between you and Mark Westgate, just drove me to every day. I find myself just learning and reading, wanting to learn more. So it's kind of cool. It's always strange. I mean, I've been lucky enough to know Fred and have had lunch with him at Commodity Classic and things like that. But to sit here and get to interview him, it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to it.
It takes a lot to intimidate Andrew, but when we were headed to lunch, he was giddy to say the least. So, and then Connor, I'll pay you a huge compliment. So as part of the new process we're going through with the podcast, we went back and said, okay, let's look through kind of our episodes, what's been really well received. And you currently have one of our top trending episodes. So, I mean, we've grown our audience significantly, and that time we spent with you is really valuable.
Connor was, we looked at who would be good to do this with first. And obviously we have Fred here, but Connor was overwhelmingly, I had numerous professors and other people just reach out and say how much they enjoyed listening to Connor. So I think this is a really good time for us to showcase the young talent that's get to, the predecessor for the great Dr. Bilo. And I already know, I've been lucky enough to work with him doing some research and going to continue to do more. So it's pretty cool to get to showcase Connor.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. And so we've talked about the fact that we've been lucky enough to have Connor on as a guest. We have our listeners know you, Connor, from that episode, but we're also incredibly lucky to have Dr. Fred Bilo with us today. And
what drives you and your team?
So I think it's very similar. Me personally, I grew up in Africa. In Africa, the staple food is corn. Not sweet corn, commercial corn. And people don't eat it in a processed format like many first world country citizens do. They eat corn either on the cob, commercial corn, or they eat like a polenta type of food. So in the environment where I grew up, I saw poverty at a very different level from what US citizens or first world citizens think about when they think about poverty. I saw kids on the street every day that maybe have one meal a day if they're lucky, and that meal will be corn. So for me, doing what I'm doing it because it feels to me that's the easiest, best way that I can use my background and my education and the opportunities that Bayer gives me to touch and change people's lives. And I think many people that work for a company like Bayer have the same motivation. Maybe not the same background as I do. Maybe they do it with a different reference point, but they want to make a difference. They want to help someone else be more successful, make a difference in the bigger society and in the bigger frame of things. So that's what drives us. I think it's touching people's lives.
That's one of the best answers I've ever heard.
Absolutely. Andrew, that was a ton of fun, man, going back through those. I will certainly say for me, it's interesting. This is hard to do, right? Because you're trying to keep up with all this information.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But gosh, you look back at it and there's a lot of joy and fun in that. So
there is. Yeah. It's you can see based on our laughter and how much fun we're having that the passion's there, and we found a nice little way to have some fun doing it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna call out just as we get ready to sign off on our 100th episode. Again, just kudos to you. What our audience doesn't see is you write these questions, and so many times they're so well done that we don't even have to ask the question because just the flow of the conversation. And so appreciate the effort that you put in. And I know we've had feedback multiple times from these guests that the way that you build our show makes it very easy for them to participate because they're just having a conversation, but you understand their research and the work they've done well enough that it's easy to have that conversation, and that's really awesome. So super appreciative of that. We have some really cool things going on that we're not quite ready to talk about yet, but I think we'll be talking about really soon. And so to all of our guests and all of our listeners, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. We're really excited about what's coming next. I think the next 100 episodes are going to be, we're going to continue to see growth and improvement, but also some really neat stuff that we'll be revealing soon. And so, grateful to everybody.
Well said. Appreciate all the guests and listeners. Continue to spread the good word of science and get the message out there. So look forward to the next 100.
Be great. Thanks for everything, Andrew.
Thank you.